cultivating the attitude of mindfulness. So basically, mindfulness is intentionally paying attention to the present moment with an attitude that is curious, accepting, friendly to the situation. So it doesn't mean you have to like it or be nice to it or that it's not going to change. It just means this is how it is now. And that actually is a phrase that most of the lawyers I've done programs for say was one of the most helpful things they heard. Ah, this is how it is now. As opposed to being lost in the complexity or frustration or anger or anxiety of it. Again, getting back into a part of the mind that isn't lost, that can say, oh, well, so this is how it is now. Or, gee, I'm wanting something to be different. Instead of being lost in the anxiety and the thoughts, even just to notice, oh, what's happening now is I want it to be different. Again, create space. And in that space, there's a little more ease, even though the situation may be exactly as it was a moment ago. And I will say that there is a definition of suffering that I learned many years ago from my director when I was at UMass Medical School at the Center for Mindfulness, which is suffering is wanting things to be different than they are. So simple, right? If I want the second piece of cake and I go to the refrigerator and somebody's taken it, there will be some level of suffering. And if I am sitting in a traffic jam and I don't want to be in the traffic jam, there will be some level of suffering. So even just knowing, oh, that's just the human habit of wanting it to be different, there's a way of settling into it with a little bit more ease. So this attitude of mindfulness just asks us to be with things as they are without adding suffering on top of it. And one thing that has been helpful for me is, my guess is that you have had at least one pleasant moment today. And you've probably have had at least one unpleasant moment today. And probably a boring or neutral moment, right? And in fact, you probably had more of all of that. And really, we can boil down our day-to-day experience as a mix of pleasant moments, unpleasant moments, and boring or neutral moments. And what if we really got that that's all that's happening? And that we can almost label them, oh, this is an unpleasant moment. And then maybe somebody walks by and smiles. Oh, that's a pleasant moment. I can feel that. And, oh, I'm bored. Oh, that's all. It's just a moment of boredom. Oh, here's another pleasant moment. Oh, here's another one. Or here's an unpleasant moment. Oh, another unpleasant moment. Can you feel a little bit that instead of getting all caught up in the unpleasant moments, oh, this is awful, or in the pleasant moments, oh, I want this to last, or in the boring moments, now what am I going to do? We can create a little space and just say, oh, that's what this is. It'll change, because it all changes, right? The unpleasant turns to pleasant. Even watching this, you've probably had feelings arising and falling and thoughts arising and falling. And that's part of what practicing mindfulness helps us to actually know in our bodies, not just intellectually. It's just this play of these different feelings. So being able to cultivate the attitude of mindfulness, which is, yep, this is how it is right now, can be very helpful. Another thing I want to emphasize as another step is to create, look for, and imprint pleasant moments. As I said earlier, lawyers have a very deep negativity bias. It is really what makes us excellent lawyers, but it can also be very toxic to us as human beings. And so I have found, at least for myself, I need to consciously notice something as a pleasant moment and stop and take it in. And the scientists will say, imprint it in our mind. And so here's an example of this bias. If I'm doing a body scan practice, for example, and the teacher says, where the guide says, notice what sensations are in your body, I will immediately go to, oh, this hurts and this isn't working. And it took a long time to realize, well, wait a minute, my big toe feels just fine, or my nose is okay today. And even today I said, oh, I'm noticing that my breathing is more flowing today than it was yesterday. So inclining toward pleasant moments and taking a moment with them. If you see a really beautiful full moon or a sunrise, instead of saying, oh, that's nice, and then going about your day, if you actually stop and notice, oh, that's really beautiful. Gee, and I can feel a little warmth here, and I'm smiling, and I'm so glad I didn't miss it. Just a little bit of that means at the end of the day, even if it was a really stressful day with lots of unpleasantness, you have half a chance of remembering, yeah, but that moon felt great. Or the wind on my face when I took that walk, that really felt nice. And so this is really important to do. We need it to counter the additional unpleasant moments that we may be facing given this pandemic.